If you can just give us a short kind of uh, entree as to how you went from being a pole vaulter at the world class level to an endurance athlete and an Iron Woman triathlete to a climate activist. Go.
Yes, buenos dias, gracias. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to speak today with Lou. Yes, so for myself, I've been a competitive athlete my entire life. I was an international pole vaulter for Canada and Canada's first female decathlete. So shortly after having my daughter, it was during COVID, and I started swimming in the rivers and running in the trails and cycling in the mountains. And I noticed things were changing very fast. Races were getting canceled because of fires or extreme weather, poor water quality. And I started feeling very almost powerless. Environments were changing. I would go show my daughter, we'd go to the ocean, I'd show her where I used to see starfishes, and there was no more starfishes. And so I noticed things were changing fast. So along this journey and training, I met my partner, Tim, and he is an ecologist. He has his PhD in ecology and a big passion and advocate for nature. So through sport, and we both bonded over cycling, long cycles, but he started explaining to me about positive changes we can make on an individual level to really advance or to really help promote climate change and try to make these efforts. For instance, we're both plant-based athletes now, and we're just starting to advocate more and more. So we started creating this project, Wings of Survival. So this has to do with the flyways. So what had happened was I saw this map, and it was the Pan American Highway, starting in the last idea of doing something that was just based around sport, and he really challenged me to look deeper and do something more purposeful. So a lot of my learning has been through him and through joining groups like Eco Athletes, and really just trying to be open-minded and really trying to empower myself and speak up for nature through my sport, which is cycling and endurance events. So we both had, and not so often you meet someone, you show them a map of 30,000 kilometers of cycling and they say, hey, let's do it. let's do something more purposeful and meaningful and impactful. So all of a sudden my athlete mind, that was just like, let's go do a record. Let's be the first woman ever to do this. I was like, yes, because I see things changing so fast and you feel so helpless at times. And so through his knowledge and experience, we've been able to collaborate on this amazing project called Wings of Survival. And and we'll be starting in Alaska, and we'll be following the migratory birds. And the big reason why we're using birds is they're the best athletes out there. They do this twice a year. We're just doing this once, which is amazing. And they're the best indicators for the health of the environment. So when we see bird populations declining, we know that those environments are greatly affected. So it's just, we both have a passion for health and health of the environment, and we really want to make a global action and initiative here.
So there's so much in that. So just to make sure the audience gets this, Leanna and her partner Tim are planning to ride their bikes from the northern tip of Alaska all the way down to the southern tip of Chile in the Patagonia region, starting next June-ish.
Yeah, the hope is we'll start when the birds will start to migrate. they'll beat us there. But the goal is to get there before they start flying back. So we have 9 months to cycle down there, which will be approximately 150 kilometers a day. And then we've also accounted for community engagement and to help support NGOs along the way as well.
And talk about following the birds. Like, are you going to follow individual birds, or they're going to go and you're going to keep track of them? How does that work exactly?
Yeah, so in Alaska, we've partnered with some scientists that already do studies on. We're going to focus on the windburrel species because they fly the whole length, and they'll take way shorter than us. It's going to take us a lot longer. They'll be eating and enjoying their time in Chile. So by the time we get there, so we'll take them, and hopefully we can reconnect with the same flock of birds. It's very hard to take birds. These scientists that we're working with in the Arctic Refuge, they've been doing this for years and years. And I think the main scientist, one year, sometimes they only get like 9 tags on a flock of birds. So we also have to hope that they want to fly the full distance. Sometimes they go either way, but part of that's knowing where do these birds go and what do they do, and maybe their habitat was threatened this year, so they're not going back this year. So there's lots of unknowns, but we're really hoping to kind of unravel this story and this unique, this very unique story of the migration of birds, and compare that to kind of what Tim and I will be going through while we're cycling. It's this very vulnerable position that we'll be in on bikes, cycling, facing weather, facing traffic and noise and safety, all these things. And I mean, these little birds do it, again, 2 times per year. And when we're seeing such a crazy decline in population over the years, something's happening, and we're seeing our environments again change. And we can kind of correlate this all to the birds and really connect everyone more on a global front than just looking at one specific area. The flyways connect us globally. We don't look at borders anymore.
And some say we are in the midst of the 6th great extinction, right, of in history, and this is climate change is exacerbating that. And so you're seeing in bird populations, you want to see what's actually happening to them, and how, which is like, how is that, what are you looking forward to personally, for this kind of experience that no one has ever done? No woman has ever done it.
Yeah, well, women have done it. No one's ever established a Guinness record. I don't want to make myself clear.
Okay, all right. Maybe I got a little too excited there.
I know, it's good. It's exciting. I think, and I'm sure we'll touch on this on the Cross Canada venture, but one of the shocking things we saw was the amount of migratory birds, any birds, all animal life, that were dead on the side of the highway.
Wait, let me just cut into that, because starting next summer, they're going to go from the top of the world to the bottom of the world on a bike following birds. Yeah. As a warm-up, she and Tim, just for an easy ride, went from Nova Scotia in the Atlantic maritime section of Canada, and they cycled all the way across to Vancouver in the Pacific. So that was in a month. Easy peasy. So now, what did you experience on that trip, which was, I believe, this past July?
Yeah, so one of the things was the amount of bird population we saw deceased on the side of the road, including rare birds that are on the protected list. We saw various animals. So one thing, even going back to your question you just answered, one thing we hope to one thing we will see is that we get to really experience what the birds are going through on this longer cycle. And we just got a glimpse of it across Canada. We're only there for 30 days. And what we learned in those 30 days was just how, especially across Canada, we had so many different environments to see and witness, and little ecosystems, various plant life and bird life and animal life. It was so spectacular to see. But then being vulnerable on a bike, we also got hit with noise pollution that really bothered us. That was one thing that was very unexpected, and that's something that we're gonna have to deal with when we cycle from Alaska down to Patagonia. The amount of lives lost on the side of the road, seeing that every day was very upsetting, because you don't realize that when you're in the car. And then of course we learned lots of basic things about our food, nutrition, and our body. We partnered with the U of A, the University of Alberta, to do studies on all of that. We're plant-based athletes, so we completely vegan. So we learned a lot about that, and we also learned about the safety of what we need from support vehicles or communication with having that person. We had one person drive us across, and he was awesome, Bill Alt, and he was our lifeline. So we have to have that strong person there to help kind of also advocate the messaging as we go along route.
And so now, as you pivot from that, what I call, kind of just easy ride across Canada to the big top to bottom of the planet ride, what are the project goals from an academic research standpoint, from I think you mentioned before, community engagement standpoint, and perhaps I hope there's a documentary about this to public engagement. What are your goals and Tim's goals for this project?
Yeah, so again, it's not just about the bike anymore, right? It's not just about sport. We're using sport as kind of a catalyst and a story to tell. We are making this into documentary, which is amazing. Our biggest thing as we travel and we meet with NGOs is that we're learning and we're helping from them, or we're learning and we're helping them. So especially, there's so many great NGOs doing such great hard work day in and day out. And so we really want to give them a platform to speak on. We want to create a virtual audience for them, and highlight them in the documentary so they feel empowered. And so other people all over the world feel empowered to do something and help. I feel a lot of times we just feel lost and we're not sure what to do. So we're really trying to make this a very positive documentary, positive and empowering documentary. Our goals are also to set up a grant program for women scientists and connect them across the 15 countries that we visit. So that's another big goal. We have partnered with the University of Alberta, as we said, across Canada. We partnered with them, and we'll continue working with them along this larger one. And we're doing a scientific study on resilience, on human resilience, which is great. So it'll be great to collect data on ourselves and also compare it against the birds, which is, I think, a cool storyline as well.
That's that is just, I mean, I can't wait to see the documentary. I can't wait to hear your stories. I won't be joining you on the bike. Don't worry about that. One thing that, when you're talking about human resilience, and I have to go this, we just had an election here, as you all know, and immigration south to north was a big issue. And what is not reported about the immigration issue globally is that there's mass migrations going from south to north, and some of that is climate induced. And is that something that you guys are thinking about as you're preparing this trip? The idea of climate refugees of the human kind, not necessarily the avian or bird kind.
Yeah, well, we're definitely aware of it. And that was one thing, actually, the Across Canada ride also was eye-opener, because I think Tim and I had a conversation on the bike at some point about this, and we were cycling through the grasslands, which are very, very important for the health of the planet, and they're not protected. I think it's like 1% is protected. So the grasslands are so important. And I was cycling thinking, wow, if we run into this problem when we have this major human migration because of all this crazy weather. Well, Canada has all these beautiful grasslands. And I was cycling and I was thinking when I was looking at the wide open roads and fields, I thought, is it just going to start getting dumped on and people and infrastructure and all these things are going to start to happen in these areas, and then this ecosystem is going to be essentially gone. So that was kind of a scary moment for me to think of. I mean, I don't think people want to leave their homes, and they love where they live a lot of the times. And so if we can work with communities and we can help these NGOs again that are doing such great work on that ground level, and we can create support in community and global support. I mean, I would love to say we could make it stop, but I know it's hard. I mean, there's highly populated areas that are under threat, and that it's something that we'll be facing globally. So we need to start making global actions now together as a community and feel empowered to help and support these areas even more so. There's just our west coast, our island where my sister lived, just got hit with Hurricane 2 winds. The whole island's power outage, trees, branches everywhere. And I don't remember hearing that.
No, we just hit one part of Florida just got hit with 2 hurricanes famously about a month ago, within like a week and a half or 2 weeks. My last question, before I give Guillermo a chance to step in, is to do with, and you mentioned at the beginning your daughter, and she's, I believe, 7. I'm not trying to rush her. What kind of legacy are you looking to, when you think of her and her future, what kind of legacy are you thinking about with Wings of Survival for her?
Yeah, it's amazing. Kids are they're so willing to learn at this point in their development. When I see her, I want her to be able to experience the same things I did as a kid, and I already don't see that. I take her to the ice fields, and the ice fields are so small right now. The ice fields are this beautiful place up in the Rocky Mountains. As kids, we used to go areas, like I said, the ocean. She doesn't get to experience the world the same. So if I can help advocate and show her the importance of standing up for nature, and that what you decide to do, like what you decide to do now, can affect your future. And it's really hard as a mom to step away and go. I love going on these adventures, but I also have to step away from her, and for her to understand that what I'm doing is I'm going away and I'm creating an impact for the greater good in a way, versus like, it's really hard. It pulls at my mom heartstrings. And so for her, what was really exciting when I go on a trip is she goes and she shows our little mini documentary to her classmates, and she talks about it in her school. So the whole school, all the grade 1s, the grade 2s, they all know about the project now. And so now the elementary schools are asking me to come and speak and show the project and explain it to the kids. And I think empowering and providing knowledge to youth at a young age is so important. And she'll ask me why, and she loves it now. She's like, Mom, all animals have souls. And I'm just like, they do. And she's just like, let's go outside, let's go for a walk instead of driving. And so she's starting to make these correlations, and I love seeing that. And we need to see that more and more in youth, but obviously it comes from the older, like our parents and aunts and who we hang around, and the messaging that's passed on through social media and the news. So it's really important to get the messaging across to the youth, and I love seeing it.
Well, that makes 2 of us. And before I hand it over to Guillermo, I just want to, if people want to find out more about Wings of Survival, where do they go?
Yeah, so you can look at our website, www.wingsofsurvival.com, And then we also follow us on Instagram, which is just at Wings of Survival. And you can learn about us all there. Yeah. And we're happy to have the follow.